Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, I think you froze the moment I joined. I was like, hello, are you there?
Okay. So of course, last night when I was going to send you the questions, I realized when I woke up this morning that they never sent. So I have them,
Okay.
but I mean, we already kind of went over them.
Exactly. Let's just play and go with the flow and follow the energy.
So what I'm going to do is I have the tripod and I'm going to record it on my phone so it'll record to the group.
Okay,
So
perfect.
if you get any questions or anything, I can check it periodically. And then I have the free version of Zoom, so I think that you only have like 5 or 40 minutes. So if we go over, we might need to just do like part 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
sounds good.
Okay, so let me stop. Get down, cat. Okay, I'm gonna go live here. Okay, we are live on the Facebook group. So hello, ladies. I know it took me a little technical difficulties, but away we go. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and type them into the chat box and I will check periodically and see what's going on. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start recording. Oh, it's recording already. Cool.
Perfect.
Cool. I'm like, it is recording. So hello. So how are you doing, Dr. Shelley?
Fabulous. It's my day off, so it's good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So so for everybody that knows, I'm Alicia, and I am the owner of Wild Wellness and also Wild Alakia, and I do meditations, I do essential oils, all kinds of fabulous things to make you feel better and happier and healthier. And Dr. Shelley, so I have some fun questions for you. I want to know a little bit about your background and what your superhero origin story is. So yeah, that's a question from Sean Stevenson. He's a health guru and I love it, right?
Perfect. I think you were freezing there for a little bit. I can't.
Is it better now?
Okay, it's better now. Yeah, you were just blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I couldn't hear anything you said.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so my question is, what is your superhero origin story? So how did you get started?
The short version is, in chiropractic school, I was always a seeker of what else is possible. So I was always looking for different techniques that really vibed with my soul. And I came across this one technique that was more of an energetic technique. And it just opened up my body to all these different levels of healing. And it's not really what I thought I would be doing in chiropractic, but there was just something about it that really resonated with me. So the more I kept learning and going to the seminars, the founder, she threw out terms like, go study Tantra, go study ancient Chinese medicine, go study Kundalini. And there was a lot of synchronicities with the Tree of Life and Kundalini and the Star of David and just a lot of the ancient knowledge. And I'm like, okay, there's something here for me. So I started studying sacred geometry, Kundalini, Tantra, yoga, this, that, breath work. And I started combining a lot of the other modalities into my adjustments when I was on the table. And it started taking my treatments to a whole nother level where I was tapping into these full body orgasms on the adjustment table. And I'm like, okay, this is different. Is everybody having this? But I didn't really talk about it that much because I didn't really know. Like, other people look like they might be wiggling on the table, but not like my body. And I'm pretty sure they weren't feeling what I was feeling. And that led me to this other work that I started studying, and I became a certified facilitator of Access Consciousness for many, many years. And that work just took me to a whole nother level as well. And I was also a fitness competitor, so I was looking to get out of my body judgment and to really just be more nurturing with my body, because I used to beat it up so bad. And that's why I was really drawn to this more subtle work, because it really allowed me to create a better connection with my body and not judge it anymore and be kinder and sweeter and nicer. And So all of that just kind of kept expanding. And then it really, the pivotal point was meeting my husband, Kumar. And he's a sex and relationship coach, yoga teacher, tantra teacher. So we just kind of combined what we do. I'm like, oh, well, this is what I do. And he's like, well, this is what I do. So we just bounced a lot of ideas off of one another and really started playing with what we do and taking it to other levels. And it was when he saw me get adjusted, actually, that he's like, oh, that's what's possible with your body? Well, I can take you even further. Let's see what we got. And that's really when the journey began of really tapping into more of my sexuality, because I was always a very sexually open person, but there was something missing. And I never really knew what it was. I just knew that no guy that ever showed up was really good enough for me. I'm like, you don't excite me. There's nothing fun here for me. It's like, okay, have sex. Okay, bye. Like, I don't want to know your name. Don't need your number. Don't call me tomorrow. I don't want to see you again. But I just kept knowing, I'm like, there's something else there, but what is it? And really it was this energy that I've tapped into, this sexual energy that you just can keep expanding and expanding and making bigger and bigger and using it in all areas of your life, channeling it in everything you do, living turned on every second of every day, becoming more aware of your surroundings. And when you add that sexual energy into your sex life and relationship, it just takes it to a whole nother level. So my work is a blend of energy work, tantra, breath work, access consciousness, quantum physics, Ayurvedic medicine. It's a blend of everything I've studied, and then some of my own fun little techniques that I've kind of created along the way that work for me and that have worked for other women too.
I'll say I'm probably going to the wrong chiropractor, you know.
I know, right?
No, I love my chiropractor. So what I wanted to say is that in this conversation, like some things might get triggered. Like you might hear some things that you're like, oh, and you turn off the, turn off the Facebook or wherever we're watching, right? So because there's not a lot of people, I will say, actually, you're the only person I know that talks the way that you do. And, I watched, I think Donna is her name, the interview you did. And she was saying that you're like the cool sister that, tells all the down and dirty details, right?
Right.
I think that's totally true, is like, well, how does this work kind of thing. So I will go with that as saying is that if anybody is triggered by this, because I remember when I first met you and first started talking to you and stuff, that there was definitely some moments where I was like, whoa, okay, like I got to process that. And so I just had an open mind, and that's all that I'm going to say to people is like, have an open mind. Really just, even if it hits you kind of wrong, and I'll say a kind of a personal experience. And I post it in the group sometimes. So ladies, you'll know that, I post the Diva cup, which is a menstrual cup, right? Instead of tampons and pads and such. And I remember the first time somebody told me about that, I was like, whoa, that is crazy. Like, turn it off, right? And as women, I feel like we're taught to not appreciate our periods, not appreciate being a woman. And so anything like that is like, oh, that's gross. Like, what if I have to touch my blood kind of thing, that kind of thing. And so I was totally turned off, right? And then I started thinking about it, and I'm an environmentalist, and I was like, maybe that could work. And they said started reading testimonials, right? And I was like, oh, that could maybe work for me. And then now I can't imagine anything else. It's just amazing. So I will say that in this, if that you need to just take a break, walk away, put it on pause, and then come back to it, please do that, because you can get some really juicy stuff from this interview. So Shelly, do you have any advice for people that might hit those blocks?
Absolutely. Taboo subject. And, even yesterday, somebody had made mention of, oh, your Facebook lately has been very interesting. Like, they couldn't believe what I'm posting. And I'm like, well, yeah, this is what I do. And there is that, even for me, kind of that, like you call it, that knee-jerk reaction of, well, maybe I should kind of filter who sees my Facebook. Maybe I should create a group where I block people from seeing it. But then I'm like, but this is me, and everybody has sex. Sex is something that is so natural. Animals do it out in the open. but it still is very, very taboo. So one of the things that I always remind people is Carolyn Mace wrote this book called Sacred Contracts, and I absolutely love it. And I love the knowledge and the philosophy behind it, is that before we even came into this world, before we were conceived, we created all of these contracts with universe, God, whomever you may believe in or what you believe in. And we basically asked for certain experiences to show up, certain people to show up, certain kinds of people to show up, to play a role in our life, to say things to us, to trigger our wounds, to really help us evolve and overcome our challenges in this lifetime. So if you can constantly remind yourself that, ooh, if something triggers me, I created that person in my life to say whatever triggered me so I can learn from it, so I can grow. So what is it that I'm not getting? What is it that I need to be aware of that if I was aware of it could actually change my life and expand it beyond my wildest imagination? And really just tuning in. Why does this trigger me so much? Why does this cause me to turn off and check out and not want to hear it? What is there for me that I really need to hear, that if I did hear it, you know, it could really change my life? And just constantly reminding yourself of that. Even if somebody says something to you and it upsets you, how did I create that person saying that to me? What do I need to learn from it? Taking responsibility back on you instead of blaming the person for saying that to you or judging them as being, you know, whatever they are.
Yeah. And I will say there was an experience I had, and I think it's, if you've done any kind of yoga or meditation work, is being the observer of your emotions or reactions, things like that. And I had an experience just the other day where, and I told you, Shelly, is that I had just gone to hot yoga and I wanted to get a green juice. And so I'm like dripping wet with sweat. You know, my hair's up in a bun. I just look like a mess and everything. And I had to walk in front of a restaurant to get to the juice bar. And I was like, well, I don't want to walk in front of all these people because it's like a fancier restaurant. And because the way that I look. And then I had that, like, I realized I thought that. And so then I just did it anyway. It's like, what do I care? Like, one, if they notice, they can clearly see I'm in yoga clothes. There's a yoga studio next door. Like, if they think anything, then they'll think I went to yoga. And so, and I don't know these people. I'll probably never see them again. You know, what do I care? So it's just noticing, I guess, catching yourself in the moment and then doing it anyways, right? Listening anyway.
Stepping out, you're constantly inside of this bubble called comfort zone. If we can constantly make choices that are outside that comfort zone.
Yep. You froze there for a minute. Oh no! Oh, there you are. Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay, it froze for a minute, so okay. I think go ahead and start over.
What did I just say?
I was talking about, like, that knee-jerk reaction and everything.
Exactly, and we oftentimes worry about what other people think, so we make ourselves smaller, and we don't really live. We don't step outside of our comfort zone, so we're constantly inside this bubble called our comfort zone, and we're making choices to stay inside the comfort zone so that we don't, get judged or worry about what other people think, when if we actually stepped outside the comfort zone and get past our fears, we truly be living. We would not have to stifle who we are for fear of what other people may think or the judgment they may place on us.
Yeah, for sure. And that's perfect segue too into women's shame, body shame, sex shame, your desires, right? Like, if it's one of those, if you're straight, you have to be straight. If you're, lesbian, you have to be a lesbian kind of thing. And there's so much, like I said, I think it starts with body shame, and then just, we never talk about sex as a society. So how did we get there? And how do we get out?
Exactly. Well, thousands of years ago, sex wasn't taboo. It was the most openly discussed subject. It wasn't, looking at the oldest religion, Hinduism, you can go to any Hindu temple in India right now, and they still have the erotic art sculptures on all of the walls inside the temple. And those sculptures mimic what today we consider porn. But back back then, it didn't have the label of porn. There weren't any labels of homosexuality, heterosexuality, lesbian, gay, straight, mono, poly. Like, none of that even existed until recently that we created judgment labels, and we got to try to put our sexuality inside of a box. And it's not really healthy, because then we're making choices based on our judgment of who we are, our label that we've confined ourselves to. And when you can just have no label and have no boundaries and have no barrier around who you are sexually, then you're free. Then you're not worried about what other people may think of you. And really, it's that judgment of you, because nobody else really judges you but you.
So, and then there's something too, is that I remember, like I said, is I posted a picture, that cool picture that you showed of yourself doing the sports competitions, or the figure competitions. And then now, right, how much happier and freer and how much more you love your body with less work, right?
Exactly. Everything can come with so much less work, whether it's money, possibilities, clients. I mean, the last couple of days since I started really promoting this class that I'm doing, it's like clients have just been coming out of nowhere. And I'm like, all right, cool, keep coming. You know, and everything just shows up easily when you're radiating from a sexual energy and you're using your sexual energy to change things in life. And that's the biggest thing for me, is I don't struggle with my body anymore. I don't judge it. I don't torture it in the gym. I don't beat it up if I have wine and chocolate every night of the week. You know, it's just, there's so much more freedom. And there's this saying that I say is, how you do sex is how you do life. So when I really truly became free in my sexuality, in the bedroom with my husband, hand over my body and go, here, take it wherever you want it, I totally trust. I'm surrendering. I'm letting go of control. I'm just being. And there's so much freedom in that. And that's really what a lot of people are desiring.
Yes, for sure. And I think that we had talked about something, you hit on such a good point. Can you talk a little bit about the masculine and feminine, what's happened with women kind of, and I'll say, like, it's good that the feminine is coming back, but some of the way that we're doing it maybe not as easy. Like, it could be easy, right? You talk about how women can be much more powerful, but if you can talk about that dichotomy a little bit.
Absolutely. And there is a huge dichotomy between the masculine and feminine. And it did kind of start with women fighting for equal rights. And it really starts, and it goes back to women not owning that being feminine is very superior to being masculine. We've judged being feminine as being inferior, being submissive. Therefore, we have to fight to be equal. And in so doing, we've become more masculine, because now we're competing with men. And then as we're competing with men and becoming more masculine, well, we're actually emasculating them. So they're becoming more feminine. So there is this challenge and struggle between men and women. Really what women want, somebody who's willing to charge, somebody who 50 Shades of Grey, and it really is identity. Even if they go to work, they have to be masculine all day long. That's great. You can come home, your husband or partner to be, if you to be feminine. And that's really where that saying comes from, opposites attract. It's not opposite interest, it's the opposite energies, masculine, feminine, yin, yang, negative, positive. That's what creates a very strong attraction. And the feminine, the women who are a little bit more masculine, what we're doing is we're challenging men. We're testing them to see, and the more we test them and challenge them, we're trying to push them over to see if they fall. And if they do, we realize, well, we have to be masculine. They're not strong enough to against me. So we can never really trust them, never really surrender and let go and trust that whatever they do, especially in the bedroom, wherever they take us, that we'll be safe, we're protected, because again, we've tested them. And that's what I know I can acknowledge. I did that with my husband. I tested him and I challenged him, and he stood there and he pushed back. He's like, you're not going to push me over. And in so doing, that allows me to trust him so much more, because I know no matter what I bring to him, he's not going to fall over. He's not weak. He's stronger than I am masculine wise, because I used to be very masculine, because I did it all. I'm like, I can do everything. I can take care of the female stuff, the male stuff. Like, I can do it all. Yeah. And sometimes we have to relax a little bit and empower men to do those masculine things for us, to give them back their masculinity and to relax more into our femininity, which is really, the best analogy is like the ocean. femininity is the ocean, masculinity is a boat in the ocean. The ocean can be calm and beautiful 1 second, the next second, it can be a tsunami. Where the boats, well, the boat's a very stationary thing. You can put a turbocharged engine on the boat, it can go really fast, but the feminine is more powerful because when the tsunami comes, you can take out that boat.
Right.
But women aren't willing to acknowledge and see that their femininity is actually that powerful. And the best example that I use all the time is Cleopatra. Look at Cleopatra. She was seriously the out of this world. She made empires crumble just by the power of her sensuality, her femininity, her sexuality, the way she moved, the way she walked, the way she... And men were just like little puppy dogs around. Like, for you, Cleopatra. But that's the power of women. But then, you know, we bring this in patriarchal society, and mankind, not necessarily the men we know, but mankind in general, they don't want women to be that powerful. They don't want women to really tap into that because we may, you know, take over the world and question things and change the direction of the planet.
Yeah.
And we're using you. We need.
Oh, of course. Like, you know, the, can you hear me? Because like right when you were talking about taking over the world, the it says the bandwidth is low and cut out. But I got to that part. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. So it's one of the things that like especially with the election, right, in the United States, obviously you're in Mexico, but you know about all that stuff. And women are, you know, rising up in droves and like having marches and everything. But I worry that it's playing into the masculine energy instead of into that like very nurturing. And obviously feminine energy can be very much like Kali mama, right? But how can we use, like I said, especially there's a lot of women that, you know, are probably in this group that are, here, come here. Of course, my dog wants to squeak a toy right now. Or, you know, if women want to use that energy to like, change things, how do they start going about that?
Willing to stuff bigger and the example of women, a lot of the deeper, more powerful orgasms, and you're channeling that sexual energy through your body. It releases chemicals in your brain that inspire motivation, that inspire creativity, that really allow you to feel just this very powerful, driven inner energy that motivates you to question everything and to take action and to be different and to make different choices that are going to create the change in the world that you desire. And that's the biggest thing, is being that example for other women, lifting women up. The more you judge yourself, that judgment can be felt by other women as though you are judging them, because we're all women. And that's, you know, one of the things I talk about all the time is a woman who embraces her sexuality, who plays big, who's out there and willing to talk about sex, for example. It's a very judgmental space. A lot of women judge that because really they're judging themselves. They're like, oh, I could never do that. I could never be that open. I could never talk about that. I could never be that kind of energy that gets all this unwanted attention, which is what they assume. And they're judging themselves that they couldn't do that. Therefore, the judgment appears, though, as it's pointed at you. So you have to be willing to play bigger and expand out and not worry about what other people think of you. Take that judgment and, you know, like we were talking the other day, just plant those seeds. Eventually, those people will become aware of that seed. And if they don't, that's the choice. Have an investment in the app. Plant the seeds, and eventually maybe those people wake up, remember that seed, and then choose to change. And it's a domino effect. One person changes, then another, then another, and another, and then we can pass it down to our kids, our nieces, our, you know, sisters, our friends, and just allow it to keep expanding out like a ripple effect.
And so I know that one of the things that happened with you is that when you started to step into this, your sexuality, and I mean, not even step in your sexuality, into publicly, like kind of, you know, saying that, is that your family, like you lost your family, right, over it. And how does a woman, like I said, is when she starts stepping into that power, how does she get over that? How did you do it?
Exactly. You know, and it was hard, but it's one of those things that I looked at it and I went, you know what? I can either be at the effect of everybody else. And as I continue getting happier and happier, and really that's what it came down to. I was becoming so much happier that they didn't like that because they weren't happy. So what do they try to do? They try to push me down and bottle me up, and you can't be happy. My husband has a good saying. He calls it crabs in a bucket. You're climbing out and you're getting bigger and bigger, and they keep pulling you down and pulling you down because they don't want you to get bigger and better than them because they're in judgment. And a lot of women are in that competition space. So really, I just have to constantly remind myself, like, am I developing the life that I deserve, or I'm going to allow other people to control my life? Which do I want? You know, and then I have this exercise where I look at it. So if I choose this, what are the consequences going to be a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years, 10 years? And I get the energy, is what I'd like to have in my life. And it's like, okay, let's acknowledge that. Let's the other way, stepping onto them, and try to pull me down for my happiness. What is my life going to look like? And it's like, oh, that's poisonous to me. Why would I want that? And then there's really good question that is, if these people were not my family or my good family, would I allow a stranger to say those things to me, to judge me that way, to try to control my happiness? And if I wouldn't, then why would I allow them to, despite the fact that they may be family, they may be blood, they may have some sort of connection to me that I don't want to let go of? So we really just have to be willing to let go of those things, including weights in our body. The moment I let go of my family, it was just like my body changed overnight. Like that's when it really started becoming a lot more evident to me that using this sexual energy and being willing to let go of everything in my surroundings that was holding me back, everything started changing. Like I had the best financial year ever. And from then on, it's just been getting better and better and better. And life just becomes easy. So you have to be willing to let go, whether it's family, whether it's the expectations of other people. It could be anything. It could be losing clients even.
So I would say, you know, if you start to get caught up in your head and get worried about it, you should probably have an orgasm, right?
Yes. Have an orgasm. Allow your mind to shut off.
I would think that that's a good cure, right?
That's my cure for everything. You have a headache? Have an orgasm. I mean, you get chemicals released that are 3 times more powerful than morphine. So why would you not have an orgasm if you're having a headache or pain in your body?
So I love this story. So I know, like, I don't think my group's heard it before unless they listened to the other interviews you did. But tell the story about the waitress, because I love it.
Yeah, so my husband and I were at this sushi. Actually, it was somewhere in Phoenix, right in Ahwatukee. We drove up from Mexico one day, and we had sushi at happy hour. And the bartender, she just came over because we were sitting at the bar. She came over and she's like, "There's something about you. Like, you just radiate this happiness. What's your secret?" And I'm like, I didn't even think, but, you know, because I'm so open, I'm like, lots of orgasms. And she just had this blank stare on her face, and she's like, I don't know what to say. And then she just walked away, didn't say anything. And then my wine is done, and I'm like, you know what? I'd like to have another glass of wine. But she would not come back to me. She avoided me like the plague. And, you know, she was only 21 or 22, but just being that open and just blurting it out, it just triggered something in her that she wasn't willing to receive. And for whatever reason, maybe she can't have an orgasm. Maybe she's like, oh, you know, oh, fuck you. You have all these orgasms, and, you know, I can't have any. I don't know what it is, but there's just something about when you're that open and you can say stuff like that and let people know what your secret is, they pull in. And it's that knee-jerk reaction that you talked about a little earlier. It's like, oh, I don't want to look at that. So I'm gonna avoid that lady because I don't know what she does, but that's a little scary to me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say also that as I've traveled all over, you know, if I'm sitting at a bar by myself, I'll engage the bartender, which is usually a woman, and I usually quiz her and like, so what is your sex life like? Like, this is what I do. And if I can get them to open up with me, what's interesting is that this younger generation, it's totally normal for them to not be able to have an orgasm, and they talk with their girlfriends about it, and it's like, oh yeah, well, that's normal. That's just the theme for this younger generation, it's like, oh, it's normal not to be able to have an orgasm. I'm like, really?
Oof.
Really?
That sucks.
I know. I'm like, you poor things. But you know, even women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s have lived their whole life without knowing what an orgasm feels like, without masturbating. I know, exactly. I had a lady the other day, she was in her, I'd say in her 70s, and she reached out and she's like, oh my God, I wish I would have found your message 30, 40 years ago. There would be so many different things I would have done in my life. My marriage would have been saved, and I wouldn't have all these regrets. And I'm like, you know, it's not too late. Because just because we hit a certain number doesn't mean our sexuality has to die.
So, I mean, let's say that it's been a long time, or, you know, I'll tell you a story about my masseuse yesterday. I was all excited about this call today, and so I was like telling her about it, and then she said, and I said, there was a friend in college I had that you're right, and she had never had an orgasm, and like guys had tried and everything, but she wouldn't masturbate and figure out what made her feel good. And we were 22, 23, and then my masseuse said, oh yeah, like I was probably like 26 when it happened, and I'm like, man, like that's terrible. So like I said, is even if these ladies, like I said, is that they're much older, what is your advice to kind of get started on that? And
just get started.
And release the judgment around it. Like you have all this programming, right? Like, so how do you get started, and how do you release that judgment?
Yeah, so one, you have to become aware of, where did that judgment come from? Is that judgment even yours? Or did you buy it from your mom, your society, whoever told you that belief? And one of my favorite questions is, when we were little, we were taught that Santa Claus is real, the tooth fairy is real. But as we grow up, we question and we come to believe that, oh, that's not really real. Like, that's a fairy tale that we were told as kids to, make it fun. And that's the same with the sex beliefs. We were told certain things like, oh, good girls don't like sex, or you're not supposed to touch yourself, or those are dirty. That's your private parts. That's dirty. All of that is ingrained in us. And then, oh, if you're a woman and you like sex, well, then you're going to be judged as a slut or a whore or this or that. So there's all these judgments we bought into, but then we never question. Were those really real? Why were we fed that? Do we still want to hang on to those beliefs? And then we have to become aware of, where are those beliefs controlling our life? What choices are we making based on those beliefs? A really good example that I used the other day is when you're having sex and let's say your partner ejaculates in you, or even if you're masturbating yourself, and afterwards, do you feel like you have to go clean up because it's dirty, or you were sweaty, or so there's all these judgments based on our own body that if we can just question them and go, where did we buy into that? And then you have to become aware of, how can I make a different choice that's not based on that belief? So for women who haven't really masturbated in a while, or they believe they're at an age where it's too late to turn back on their sexuality, it's not. I remember I had a 75-year-old lady in one of my classes in Dallas a couple years ago, and she had this very important question of, she's still out there sexually, and she met this guy, and she couldn't get wet for him. And for this question, I'm like, well, is it because that, it's your age and you couldn't get wet, or was he not the right person for you to have sex with? Like, sometimes you have to listen to your body. And it was amazing. The next day she came into class and she's like, oh my God, I met this other guy and my body was so wet, because she listened to her body and she went after. So she made a choice based on, wow, I'm turned on. But there is this disconnect between our brain and our vagina. We judge what turns us on based on up here, not instead of listening to our body and, are we turned on? Are we wet? But with the whole masturbation thing, just get started. Just get over that hump. Just do it. And become aware of the thoughts as they come up. What is that? Where did that come from? Who did I buy that from? Okay, would I like to hang on to it? Does it really work for me? Does it expand my life? If not, okay, just let it go. And letting it go can really be that simple as just let it go. Breathe it out, and just let it go.
Yeah, and it's funny. So something along that lines as well is, I talked to somebody recently too that says, she makes her period long, like she says it's longer than it is, so she doesn't have to have sex with her partner. So it's the one time of the month when she actually gets a break and gets stuff done, and it doesn't feel poked and prodded. And I thought, like, oh, like that's so sad, you know, like, and I think that, you know, this class that you're having coming up, right, is how do you, you know, make it so that it's not a chore? And I know you said you never turn down Kumar, and like, even if it's, he wakes you up in the middle of the night kind of thing. And, you know, and for a lot of women, I know that they think that that might be just work, like, you know, work, or I'm tired, I have a headache, all that stuff. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Absolutely. And the biggest thing, one, that comment that you first said of, well, I make my period longer so that, you know, I don't have to have sex with my partner. Where did we buy that even having sex during your period is dirty? Where did we judge that having a period is dirty? Or like with you with the diva cup, that and I know a lot of women, they hate their period. And it's like, can you celebrate that? Like, that is one of the joys of being a woman. Therefore, when you can celebrate it, you actually love your body even more, and you judge it a lot less. Moving into the whole sex is a chore, sex is obligation, if you've never tapped into that pleasure of having all these different kinds of orgasms, if you've never had a full body orgasm, if you've never really had an orgasm that connects you to the universe, then you really don't know what you're missing out on. So what you don't know is really what you don't know. So when you discover that, like, oh, maybe I've been missing out on all of that, maybe it isn't work. Because for me, it isn't work because the orgasm is very, one, it's my meditative state. It connects me to the universe. It shuts off my mind. It feels amazing. It's also very, there's so many health benefits to having sex. Like I mentioned earlier, it takes away pain. There are reflexology points along the penile shaft as well as inside of the vagina that when you do sex in certain positions and those reflexology points are hit at certain angles, it can heal your organs. It opens up your chakras when you learn to move the energy through your body. So there's all these different techniques you can do to really tap into your sexual energy and take it from being a very focalized, pinpoint pleasure to expanding it out on your body and making it bigger and really feeling it and tuning into all of your different sensations. Because we've become so caught up from what we're feeling, all the different sensations in our body, we're cut off from the awareness of our body because we judge it so much that we're just not even there. We're here. So we can't really enjoy the pleasure that we're feeling. But when you can, from that a different way, and also orgasm a different way, because a lot of people, they force their orgasm into existence, just like the same way they force everything into their life into existence instead of allowing it to come easily. When you can expand out your orgasm and it's not forced into existence, it's a whole different kind of experience. It's a whole different kind of pleasure.
Oh, oopsie, it stopped right there. Are you? Oh, I lost you for a minute. Oh, there you are. Okay. It was.
Am I back?
Yes.
Cool.
Oh, hold on one second.
Last year. Okay.
All right, let's see. Come back. Okay. For whatever, it's so funny. Like when we talked yesterday, it was like perfect and there was no interruptions on the bandwidth. So whatever is going on today, it's all of the energy that we're putting out, right? Let's see. Oh,
Anything that it's like technology just goes, oh, yeah, we want to go there. Okay.
Okay. Hold on. Okay, so it froze on your face when you were laughing. All right, let's see. I think you're
okay. Am I back?
Yes. Okay, there you are.
Okay, cool.
So anyways, so this kind of goes into my next point about the phenomenon of Christian gray, right? Darker shade, 50 Shades of Gray, right? And then 50 Shades of Darker and that. So it's become this like kind of worldwide phenomenon, right? And especially in the United States, where like I mean, women had it in book clubs, which I would have loved to have been in a book club that discussed that, right? And then just like the movies, and they obviously made enough in the first movie, even though it got really bashed, they made enough in the first movie to make a second one now. And so I feel like women are curious about those things, but they don't want to talk about it because, and here's a kind of way that made it more accessible. But it's like, okay, how do I start, or why am I even drawn to that? If you can talk a little bit about that whole thing.
Absolutely. And a few things. We had this awareness of a client. Well, actually, it was a guy that had reached out to me, and he had asked me, he's like, listen, my wife is addicted to 50 Shades of Grey. She reads the book every night. We climb into bed, and she's addicted. She's on her Kindle. She's reading it. And I've asked her, like, okay, let's incorporate some of that into the bedroom. But she just won't. Like, she constantly had an excuse for why she wouldn't. And again, that comes back to a lot of the judgments and different things. And there's this funny video around the other day. This is 50 Shades of Grey. This is what women want. And then it showed this is reality. Like, everything possible going wrong, and all this judgment of, oh, you know, the handcuffs didn't work. Okay, sounds like, oh, that doesn't sound right. You know, like, but it was just a really cool video that showed that we've got this concept of how easy and effortless it can flow and what it can look like. And then reality, it's a little more difficult because sex is so awkward, because couples don't even talk about their own sex life. So how would you even begin to add in something like that when you don't know 75% of your partner's fantasies, likes, dislikes, or not, when you don't even know what yours are?
Yeah.
Because it is that internal challenge, stand there and be that anchor for me, so that I can let them hand over, and they're going to take me. And what are high jobs, like CEO of businesses, they're in control day long. So really what they're desiring is to be in control. But if when they push their partner, the partner falls over, they can't let go of control, because he can't even be that anchor. And it comes back to, we as women have to empower men, instead of being something is some guy opens a door and thank him.
Yeah.
And that gentle respect, allow him to be masculine, allow him to do things. There's certain things my husband loves to do. They want to, you know, if you have to try to change for you, for them to do those things that do that. And start getting there now.
Oh, hold on. You cut off there again, right at the end. Let's see. Can you hear me? Oh, Shelly, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, we have, like I said, a weird connection today for whatever reason. So I'm hoping that since you have it on your end, it's recording both, so that when we actually put the link up, the whole thing will work. Oh, you froze again. Let's see. Okay, I can see you. Can you hear me? Oh,
yeah.
This is so annoying.
What else is possible here?
Yes. I'm like, it's not Mercury retrograde.
No.
Okay, now I can
too much energy. Okay, cool.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like, we're gonna break the internet.
I know, right? Watch out.
So yeah, I'm hoping that like I said, is that the recording, at least, because like I said, it's recording on both ends, that comes out clear. So it's catching most of it, but every now and then it just does the digital dropout kind of thing. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and how much of that is just this energy of oh my God, it's sex, it's taboo, it's, you know.
That's, and so that brings me to, so like I said, is obviously, like I said, is, you know, that I would say if you're interested, you know, so this woman, like I said, that you were talking about, that she was addicted to it, but she doesn't want to do anything with her husband, that maybe she just needs to like read some more like stuff like that. So there's great erotic novels or even short stories. Violet Blue, do you know who she is? And she does a good job of curating women written erotica. And I think that, like I said, is that if you read some of her stuff, and I think she does, it's like best women's erotica of whatever the year is. So like, you know, 2016 or whatever, you can find it, and then you can start to read that, and you can go, that's not for me. Ooh, that kind of turns me on. And like know what your tastes are, and then like go to a store, like, and everybody there, you know, like that has toys and everything like that, they don't care. They're not judgmental. I mean, they work in the store. They're like willing to help.
Exactly.
So they're probably a good resource for just figuring out maybe like, and if you're like, okay, I'm just starting, what do I do? They'd probably be a good resource to like help you out, right?
Absolutely. And just feeling us for like, you know, sit down with your partner and just open it up, break the ice, you know, like, hey, let's talk about sex. You know, I've been reading this book, and just throw the ideas out there. I have an ebook that's called the Sex Talk Blueprint. And it kind of, you can use it as a game if you want, where you can go through different exercises and create a date night out of it and sit down with your partner and just open up, like, you know, like, what if we created play names for one another? What would you like to be called? Well, this is what I would like to be called. And start there. And then there's a checklist of what you want more of in your sex life, or what you want less of, or, you know, I really like this. And just being willing to create this space with your partner where there's no judgment, where it's like, honey, you know what? I'm going to give you the freedom to tell me anything you want. Like, what's your deepest, darkest fantasy? What's your deepest, darkest secret? And one of the things that a lot of couples don't do is talk about their past sex life with their current partner. And why not? Why are we afraid of being judged by our partner? Or oftentimes it's actually afraid of the jealousy or insecurity that may show up. And that just comes back to you not owning you not acknowledging just the greatness that you are for your partner, and how much you can be everything that your partner desires, and they're not going to go elsewhere. They're with you for a reason.
Yes. And what if it's on the other end? Like, what if you're fine with it, but your partner doesn't want to hear about anything in your past, doesn't want to think about that?
So that requires a little more effort to create that non-judgmental space for your partner to open up. One of the things my husband and I do that we started many years ago that we're still doing is we sext one another different images. It's like, ooh, I would like to try this. Or, ooh, what do you think about that? Or, ooh, take this picture of me. Look, this is an awesome position. We've never done that. So it's kind of a nice non-confrontational space, because it's over a text. And it also creates a sexual connection all day long. So it's like, oh, I'll text him in the morning, and then whenever he gets back to me, and then it's like, oh, I got a text from my husband. So we're constantly connected all day long, but it allows you to talk about your fantasies, what you want, different positions. Hey, let's switch it up a little bit without making your partner wrong. Hey, this is what you're doing, and it may not be enough for me. You don't want to come out and see that, but there's other gentle ways that you can talk about sex that doesn't make your partner feel wrong. And if you can create a non-judgmental space, because oftentimes your partner may not want to open up for fear of being judged by you, because they were judged by a past partner. They were made wrong for what they enjoyed sexually in a past relationship, and they're bringing that baggage into this relationship. So women have the power to change the relationship any direction they want. Again, they're like the ocean. They can take that boat anywhere they want if they're willing to let go of all their judgment. And there's a really good saying that when you look at somebody with non-judgmental eyes, that is the most seductive thing you can be and do for that person. So be that for your partner. Don't judge them. If they told you that, hey, I had this crazy wild sex in this past relationship, don't let your jealousies and insecurities come up and go into, well, why don't you have that with me? Why haven't we done that? You have to push that down and go, where is that coming from? My partner, be grateful my partner is actually opening up and sharing that for me.
Right.
And it was, I think, our second date that Kumar had asked me, like, how many guys have you been with? And I'm like, no guy's ever asked me that. Like, I don't want to make the guy feel bad, you know? Like, you really want to know? And then I finally told him. And this was way before we even had sex. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just, okay, here's my number. And then he's like, oh, you've got a lot of catching up to do. And I'm like, what? I'm like, really? What's your number? And when he told me, I'm like, oh, okay, good. You can't judge me. But one of the best analogies, because he really started asking me, like, tell me about a past sexual experience that you really enjoyed. And I'm like, you really want to know? I'm like, okay. So for me, it was even a little awkward at first. I'm like, no guy has ever asked me that. So when I started telling him, he gave me a really good analogy. He's like, when you do these things, it'll be like fly on the wall so that I can be involved in your entire past instead of just from here on. And I get to know who you are sexually, what you like, what you dislike. Because a lot of times I would tell him things and he'd be like, so if there was anything you could change about that experience, what would it be? And I'm like, well, it would be this and this and this and this. And so he gets to know what I like and what I dislike. So it's a very honoring place. And I did the same with him. It's like, tell me about your best whatever experience. And being able to hear it with no judgment, not making him wrong, not going, well, we've never done that. So just, you have to have a very non-judgmental space. And again, you got to be that for you. And then as you be it for you, you can be it for your partner.
So just the being open.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely.
I would say, like, you know, like I said, again, the knee-jerk reaction is that happens to me internally. So whatever anybody's telling me, I don't like immediately react back at them. Like I have a reaction, but I have it internally, and then I put it through a filter, like a process, right? Like, okay, well, that hit me weird, like, you know, maybe not wrong, but weird. Why? You know, again, is it that programming? Is it my personal beliefs? Where did those beliefs come from? Like, whatever it is. And so it's not the immediate snap back. If you can just breathe, right? Like if you can just breathe with it and just kind of be like, okay. And sometimes it requires like sitting with it, like even for like a day or a few hours, right?
Absolutely.
And so talking about, you know, texting with your husband back and forth and how you're connected, and you're talking about like, you know, positions and like I said, sexting back and forth. People probably maybe had that in the beginning of their relationship, but then I feel like they stop, right? But in the class, you know, he's committed, but is he addicted? I imagine that if he's thinking about that at work or whenever he's away from you, like he's going to be probably pretty addicted, right? Because he's going to be thinking about you and what like waiting to come home to you, right?
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing is, and you know, it's a lot of women oftentimes push back and go, well, why do I have to do all these things for him? It's not for him. It's actually for you. Because in you doing that, you're doing a depth of who you really are, because your sexuality is a part of who you are. You get to discover parts of you that you never even knew existed. You get to discover new things that you like, that you don't like, and you really get to tap into who you are, because again, how you do sex is how you do life. So if you can create that open, honest communication in your sex life, then you can talk about anything, money, finance, anything, work, and there is never really any judgment about anything else. But this lack of sexual energy or sexual connection between you and your partner will actually eventually overflow into frustration, into other problems in other areas of your relationship. So this actually contributes to changing your relationship, changing all the other areas that may not be working for you. But with the whole sexting thing, like my husband, he's been gone for 5-6 days and we're constantly sexting the whole time during his trip. The moment he lands, he sends me a message. He's been sitting in $1 million deals that he's closing, and he's under the table sending me a message, because to him, like, that's the most important thing is sexual connection. But that sexual connection feeds his sexual energy, which then feeds his creativity, his motivation, his drive, his ability to manifest whatever he wants in life. So it's also being aware of, let me help turn on so that he can have that sexual energy flowing, so he can manifest a life that is beyond his wildest imagination, and being able to contribute to that and acknowledging that you both are contributing to this amazing life together. And he's canceled meetings, he's booked flights one day earlier just to rush home to me, where he has coworkers who are like, yeah, forget that. I'm going to stay one more day so I can go out with the boys and drink and party, and no need to rush home to my wife. And they don't understand him. They're like, why do you want to rush home to your wife? And then finally one day he told them, like, well, this is what she does for me. Like, this is what we do. She's a sex therapist. Like, this is who she is. And she makes it to him. They're like, got it. Now I've become like, even his boss has done it. And recently, actually, where we were in Phoenix visiting his boss, and his wife had just had a baby, and I was going to stay home with her. But he had said, he's like, okay, boys night. But Shelly, you're coming, right? And I'm like, no, I'm staying with your wife. Like, I can't just leave her alone. Are you crazy? Right. But he's fell in love with like this concept of who I am as a woman. And it's, you know, they've made comments before, his coworkers, to him, God, we wish we had a wife like yours. And you can be that. You can be fun. You can be non-judgmental and go out and be like one of the guys and just be open and fun. And that's really what's fun. They want a partner who's fun.
Yes, for sure. And why do you think that women lose that when they are in long-term relationships? Because you obviously haven't.
Yeah. Well, honestly, we lose it when we become an adult. We have to now do adult things. We can't be fun and playful anymore because society teaches you have to be responsible. You have to be dependable. You have to present yourself in a certain way. You can't just be fun and playful. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything done. You're not going to make any money. You're not going to be responsible. You're going to be flaky. So we've decided that being fun is not going to contribute to our life. So I've caught myself, because I'm a workaholic, I notice that when I get into these modes where I'm trying to force my work into existence, where I'm trying to force money to come, force clients to show up, it's a struggle. It's not fun. And I notice that I invest more time and energy. I become more stressed, and nothing's showing up that I want to. And then I'm like, okay, breathe. You know what? Let me just take a day off and just go fuck off. Let me go have fun. Mm-hmm. And when I do, oh yeah, I need to have fun. I have fun in a relationship. Feeds my business. It feeds everything else I do. So making fun a priority, letting go of all these judgments of, well, I'm a mom. I can't be fun because I have to teach my kids certain things and morals and values. I get that. But you can also be the example to them that they still have to be fun no matter how many years they are in a relationship with their partner. So be the example for them so they can have that.
Yeah, for sure. So that comes into the class. So like, which that I'm very excited about. So
me too.
So can you say, and so like it obviously is he's committed, but is he addicted? So that kind of implies that it's for just women that have, you know, that are married or have, you know, partners and stuff. But tell me who the class is for.
Honestly, the class is for any woman who wants to join. She doesn't necessarily need to have a partner, because what she's going to learn in the class can actually help her manifest a partner. Because we're going to look at all these different beliefs and judgments and inhibitions and fears that we have. And oftentimes, if women are single, they go from one man and they repeat the same patterns that they did. This class is going to bring a lot of awareness around that Sherry fix that. And I amazing partners. Sure. When you tap into this energy, you draw things anyone, amazing body, like just touch. So you don't need, you know, require you have a partner, but you can do it with yourself. You can do the later when you get into a relationship. You can tell you about learning, full of the lust, the sex, the fun, the playfulness, to keep your partner addicted to you. But it's not doing exercises and homework, and it may look like you have to do things for your relationship, for your partner, and you may want to go, well, what's he doing for me? But what's funny is I recently worked with a client, and she had this belief that she had to wait for him to be turned on to show her that he desired her, and even down to this fact that, like, well, I'm going to wait for him to be hard, like for his dick to be hard before I'll do anything sexual. Like, why not? He's your partner. You love him. Do you not? Like, be willing to embrace your sexuality for you in a way that also turns him on and makes him desire you. Give him a reason to desire you. Give him a reason to come home and, want to throw you up against the wall and have sex in the kitchen. So you're going to learn the tools to really keep that flame alive, because that flame requires both partners to contribute wood to the fire. And if your partner isn't contributing, there's going to be some ways that you can gently kind of, ask your partner to contribute or inspire him to contribute. But by you changing, he's naturally automatically going to change. And that's the beauty. And that's kind of hard to wrap your mind around. Like, how is it that it kind of works magically that when you start changing, it's like he has to kind of change to keep up with you. But most people aren't really taught all these different tools to keep a relationship. Yeah, you're in a relationship. It may be good. There may not be any sex. You may, I hear a lot of times, well, he loves me. Like, that's good enough for me. I could live the rest of my life without sex. But then I hear from the guy, yeah, but I love her. She's my wife. She's the mother of my children. And we're not having sex. And I still have these sexual needs, wants, and desires. And I don't want to cheat on her because I love her. I still want to have sex with her. But if she would just give me what I want, and then they're drawn, they're torn. They're like, well, what do I do? If I don't get sex the rest of my life, like, I'm eventually going to become so deprived that I'm going to want to go out there. I'm going to want to go cheat. And then I'm going to hurt her and feel guilty. So they're like, how can I get her to just see the pleasure in sex and to want that? So by you changing and becoming turned on with you and loving you and bringing the sexual energy to all areas of your life, your partner is naturally going to become addicted to you. He's going to be like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? Why are you so happy? Why are you bubbling and radiating? So even though you're going to turn him on and make him addicted, you do this for you. Have more fun in your life. Instill the sexual energy into your life so you can manifest anything you want as if by magic. So it really is all about you. So no partner needed. You don't have to be in a heterosexual relationship because, again, even though it's make him addicted, there is this concept of masculine, feminine energy. So even lesbians can take the class and use the same tools to keep their partner addicted to them, because we're going to work a lot with this whole masculine, feminine energy and how to really acknowledge what is your partner, what would you like him to be, what would you like to be, so that we can learn how to turn, if we're masculine and work, how to turn that off and become more feminine in the relationship, how to empower him or her to be more masculine.
And like I said, that's going to be super exciting. And then about the always waiting for him to do it kind of thing. Are you going to address that at all?
Oh yes, absolutely. Like being willing to find your voice. There's so many women who don't have a voice. And I was one of them before I met Kumar. I told you the other day, I ended up in sexual situations where halfway through, I'm like, okay, I'm bored. I need to get up and go. But I didn't have that voice to say no. I didn't want to hurt the guy's feelings. I didn't want to burst his ego. I didn't want to make him feel bad because I cared about what, his feelings were. But I wasn't willing to honor me. And if we don't have a voice in our relationship, then we're not honoring ourselves. We have to find our voice. We have to be able to ask for what we want. We have to be able to give directions, give guidance, speak about things, like just finding your voice as a woman. And if you can find your voice in the bedroom, you can find your voice in life. You can ask for what you want in business deals with clients. You can ask for money. You can ask for anything you want if you have your voice in the bedroom, because how you do sex is how you do life.
It's funny to think about that, is to think about how am I and how do I show up there, right? And then you can see parallels in your life, right?
Absolutely.
And the one thing I will say is that if you start getting into this, and we're talking about, like I said, it's being turned on all the time, right? It doesn't always look like you're having an orgasm all the time. I was talking about yesterday, it could look like you walk outside and you notice the sky is just stunning, right? And you're just in awe, or you hear water running or whatever. It's becoming present, right? That's one of the huge things, is becoming present. And I think when you become present, then you can start telling your partner what it is that you like, right? Or don't. And I will say that most men, I don't know any men that wouldn't be up for listening to what you want, right? I mean, unless they're very young, but even then most men want to learn, right?
Absolutely. Guys were never given a manual on how to give a woman pleasure, how to turn her on. And every woman is different. What works for me may not work for you. So guys want to know, but they also, even if they ask and you don't tell them, they just they do whatever they've learned and whatever they think worked with the last girl. And then you end up sexually dissatisfied. And there comes a place of, a lot of women struggle with not wanting to hurt his feelings, not wanting to burst his ego. But there is a very kind and gentle way that you can say, oh, babe, oh my God, if you did a little more like, that's all, yeah, right? That, like, to boost him up and to actually boost his ego in giving him the directions. And that's going to make him feel like, wow, oh my God, I'm doing good. That's really all men want. They want just a little bit of like pat on the back. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever run into a man that's like upset by direction.
No, not at all. Not at all. And it really comes back to, how you do it. And one of the other things we're really going to address is letting go of your expectations of what you do in the relationship and how your partner reacts and responds to you. Because oftentimes we do something and then we want him to respond a certain way. Well, it doesn't always work that way. Maybe they have something else going on. Maybe they're stressed. So being able to bring that awareness, because we're going to really increase your awareness of everything in your life, from your surroundings to your body, and being able to bring that awareness into your relationship and realizing that, if my partner had a stressful day, the best way to decrease that stress is to turn on your sexuality. Anytime Kumar is stressed, it's like, okay, time to up my sexuality, time to become more playful. Because the stress hormones are indirectly related to sex hormones. One goes up, the other is down. So when stress is high, sex hormones are low. So people have a lower libido when their stress is higher. So being able to turn that sexual energy on to lower the stress and being able to just acknowledge what a gift that is for your partner. Because again, relationships are about this contribution. So when you can be that gift to them, like, there's nothing that makes me happier than turning my partner on, having a smile on his face, making him happy, making him laugh. Like, to me, that is what we live for. And being able to be that energy with everybody. In my chiropractic office, my rule with my assistant is we have to make every single person that comes in here feel like they're the most important person in the entire world. Like, we have to spoil them and make them special, and we have to know their name every time they like, you have to greet them by their name. Like, because when you make people feel special, you feel good.
Yes.
Like, go out, turn your flirtatious energy on, compliment somebody, tell them they have a beautiful smile, they have beautiful eyes. I know for me, there's nothing more beautiful. Like, it's interesting, here in Mexico, people are a lot more complimentary than Mexicans are than in the States. Like I was telling you yesterday, there is this touch phobia. There is this, there we go. There is this touch phobia. There is this, oh my God, somebody was flirting with me or kind to me, therefore it looks like flirting. So we shut off that energy because we're afraid that they may want something from us. But I can't tell you, at least once a week, I'll go somewhere here and somebody will, like, especially women here, a lot more complimentary, and they'll be like, oh my God, you have beautiful eyes. Or there's this lady, she's a cleaner at the gym we go to. My God, she cracks me up. Every day I walk by, she's whistling at me and she's like, Mamacita. And I'm just like, I love you. Like, you're just so adorable that you can embrace that energy and not be afraid of me turning around and go, oh my God, you're like, why are you whistling at me and calling me Mamacita, But just being willing to be in that energy of playfulness with other people and putting a smile on their face. Like, I love being complimented by women when they can come up and actually go, like, wow, you have beautiful eyes. It's like, thank you for being that open to be able to approach another woman and compliment her, because most women don't do that. And even in the States, if I were to go up and compliment somebody, it's like, okay, why are you telling me that? Like, what do you want from me? Oh my God, you're flirting with me. No, it's being kind. And sexual energy is really about being kind with you and being kind with everybody else. Because it's very nurturing. It's the most powerful healing energy in the entire world. So how can we use that to really contribute to healing of our body, healing of our relationship, healing of everything that we desire?
So, and like, obviously is that when you start turning on like that, then sex does not become a chore. It doesn't become boring or something that you're like not wanting from your partner, that it's not like it's kind of like, oh, like I don't want to turn him down because, you know, I'm not into it right now. Like, what if you were to, in those moments, just go, you know, I'm going to let him, you know, let his energy kind of help me out to get me turned on and start, you know, playing. Is why am I in this low state of energy anyways? Right? So that it becomes not work.
Exactly. Absolutely. And when you are turned on all day long, you have so much energy. Like, it's just like, you're happy, you're energized, you're ready to go, you're ready for anything. And, you know, like you had said earlier, if my husband wakes up at 2 a.m. and he can't fall back asleep, he'll play with my body. He'll, you know, put his hand, you know, on my perineum, the little piece of skin between your vagina and anus, and he'll run energy on it, or he'll just slowly like caress my spine and turn my body on, and I'll start wiggling. And even if I come awake, I'm not like, oh, why did you wake me up? Because I know that whatever energy that we can share in that moment and that connection that we can have, and because what we do for one another, 90% of our sex is really that slow, gentle, conscious sex where it's taking us to higher levels of connection. We are both expanded out into the universe. And most of the time I facilitate his body. And when he has an orgasm, he's connected to the universe, and then he just lays there and he's in meditative state for 5 minutes as I just run energy all over his body and caress him. And that is the most powerful connection that we can have, where you're connected with everything. You're connected together. You become one. You're connected with the universe. Your mind shuts down. Energy is flowing. And it's like, okay, now we can fall back asleep. There's been times where we're both awake and we're like, okay, we can't fall asleep. Okay, this is what we need. And then you're relaxed. Your body just gently falls back asleep.
So now, like, this makes a great point. Like, I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of women are used to, and this is, again, like, help teaching him what feels good to you, because that sounds like amazing, right? But like, I think most women are like, you know, get the like poke in the back, right? You know, and I'm like, does not turn you on. And I think that a lot of men, they resort to that because they don't know, like, again, they don't know how to turn you on anymore, or, you know, like that if they've tried the kind of slow sensual thing, like that didn't work, you know, and so they need to try something different. If you've been in that relationship for a long time, they will just, like I said, kind of resort to that because that's what's worked, right? That you finally kind of like give in,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Instead of taking that together.
Well, and if we look at what they were taught and learned over their whole life, they were never really born to be soft, sensual, because no, you're supposed to be a boy. You're not supposed to have emotions and be into that kind of stuff. So even in how they masturbate, it's like, okay, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, jerk off really quick so I don't get caught in the shower by my brother or dad or mom or whoever's going to knock on the door. So to them, sex is a very quick, fast thing that they just get done. And then even in the bedroom, it's like, okay, well, if you lay there and you're not giving him directions and you're not telling him, hey, a little bit like this or a little slower, he's going to do what works for him, which is, again, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And you're laying there going, okay, that wasn't fun. I didn't have an orgasm, but he did. Like, what about me? And then if you never really show him, hey, you know what, this feels good. And again, it comes back to, do you even know what feels good for your body? And one of the exercises I'm going to give the women in my class is go buy a feather and use that feather to just caress your body and to feel everywhere it touches your body, so you can really turn on your body with that feather. So you can become aware of your skin, because your skin is the largest sensory organ that you have. You can have a skin orgasm just by lightly being touched. But we have to awaken that sense so that we can have that, so we can tap into it. But the best way to show him what you like is to touch him that way. Because I can promise you, most men have never really been touched that way. And that soft, slow, like, close your eyes and pretend that you're a blind person and that you're reading Braille, and just touch his body and empower him. Just breathe, honey. Just lay there. Like, so there are some techniques that I'm going to give in the class that you can do for your partner, so that you don't really have to tell him, hey, touch me this way, but so that you can actually show him and he can go, oh my God, that feels really good. And it's going to shut off his mind, decrease his stress. And then he's going to go, you know, maybe I'll do that to you. Yeah. Be the example.
So the last two things that I want to say kind of for the class that you're having coming up, and then obviously, like, I want you to say you get involved in the class, but the one thing that's very interesting, and I will post a video of it because I think you did a video, is that there are 13 types of orgasms, right?
Yes.
So you can learn those, right? And then
absolutely.
And then the fears. If somebody has like fears about like, oh my God, what is she gonna, make me do? What am I gonna have to do? Like, how can you help people with that?
Well, I'm not going to ask you to do anything that's against your will. And of course, everything is choice. So it's not like you have to do something I'm going to ask you to do. But there isn't going to be anything that you will have to do that will challenge you too much. There's always going to, kind of like in yoga, there's always okay, you can either start here or you can play big and go here. So there's going to be different options that you can start small and then work your way up. But everything that you're going to do is going to be for you. It's going to help you tap into more of you. It's going to help you discover more of you. It's going to help you step outside your comfort zone and actually start living. It's going to help you become more aware. So again, what if you could just embrace it with an open mind and go, you know what, whatever I'm currently doing isn't working. I'd like to, or even if it is working, maybe you just want to take it to that next level. Maybe you just want to add a little bit more spark in your life. Just by becoming more aware, it's amazing what can change. It's amazing what you can become aware of and go, you know what, like, let's add this, let's try that. And yeah, just abolish that fear, because class 1 is going to be, let's put all your fears on the table. Let's look at them and let's acknowledge from here on out, where do they show up? Because I can promise you they will show up, because fear just doesn't go away overnight. It takes multiple times of you becoming aware of where it shows up. And the universe has a funny way of poking you. It's like, oh, you said you got rid of that fear? Okay, let me send this other situation to you that looks totally different than all these other ones, and it doesn't even match this fear, but it's going to trigger it in a way that you didn't even know. So it's becoming aware of like, oh, that fear showed up. That's weird. Why did it? Oh, thank you, universe. Okay, it's still there. So the universe will keep advancing on you and go, let's see if it's still there. Okay, let's get bigger. Let's send you an even bigger experience. Let's see if it's still there. Oh, it's still there. Okay, you still have to let it go. But if you can be aware of it and go, oh, that's what that is, then you can choose to let it go and not make choices based on it.
This all sounds super exciting. So
I know, it's going to be so exciting.
Especially the 13 types of orgasms. Like,
when you can have that, you're like, sex is work? Never.
Right. And so it's very much, and it's funny because it's like a lot of different, kind of ancient texts and gurus and everything is that energy, the sexual energy, or chi or ki, or,
Kundalini, life force.
Yeah. And that they're very much about play and dance and like, when did you stop playing? When did you stop having fun? So like, what if, like, what are the possibilities if like life became, fun and exciting, and you walk through your day and people are just attracted to you, like, and not in a, in whatever way, but not in a weird way to yourself, right? Like that you're just notice it and,
Yeah, and because of the sex negative society we lived in, I know we talked about this yesterday, the unwanted attention that women have decided that if they embrace their sexuality, they're going to get all this unwanted attention. And because of all the sex negative things, like sexuality it's swinging to like both ends of the spectrum. We're either extremely closed off sexually, or we have all these perversions like, well, if I embrace that energy and people are drawn to me, that means like I'm going to have sex with them, right? No, not at all. Like, where did we give up our power to have a voice, to, choose what we want in life, to be able to receive that attention, but not have anything like come of it, not be a victim of anything. And even for me, like when I embrace my energy all the time, I don't really get unwanted attention. Granted, like in the gym here, there's a few creepy guys that just, they follow me everywhere. And I'm like, okay, you make it a little obvious, but they're harmless. They are absolutely scared shitless to come talk to me. If I hold their eye contact, it's like, oh my God, she caught me looking, So it's like, yeah, they follow me around, but what do they really do? But it's owning your power of like, okay, I'm going to acknowledge that you're staring at me right now. Hi, how are you? And it shifts them. And getting out of, like you said, that wrongness of people are drawn to you, not in a weird way. There are times where even 12-year-olds in the gym will kind of follow me around and stare, and like letting go of the wrongness, because it's not the sex that they're wanting. It's them acknowledging that you're being an energy that is not like any other energy in the world. So they're kind of drawn to like, what do you have that nobody else has? Why are you different? So they're just drawn. They don't know what they're drawn to. So they're not drawn to the sexual energy or the sex or anything like that. They're just drawn to, you're being something different. What is that?
Yeah. And it's, and I was like the interview you did with Donna, and she was talking about, she did an exercise with you and she had to go like sit in a coffee shop and kind of be that energy. And people came up to her. She said she's never been like hit on. Like they'll come up and say something like, I don't know what it is about you, but I just wanted to like, you know, compliment you or whatever. But like she never got hit on. Like they'll say you have a beautiful smile, or you have, you know, there's something about you. I'm not sure what it is. You know, but
or I like your hair.
Yeah. So anyways, so it's one of those things where, and like I said, being in that space, like I said, is, that, like I said, is it will help your body, it'll help your business, it'll help, you know, at your work, you know, and that people will just feel, and it's happened to me lots of times, whereas people just feel drawn to you for whatever reason. I will say it makes, you know, getting deals done or anything that you want really easy.
Exactly. That's why money just kind of shows up, because people are like, okay, there's something about you, and they have to like you to be able to spend money with you or buy something from you. So if you can be that energy and not judge them, they automatically feel compelled to, you know, spend money with you or buy whatever you're selling or to be your client. You know, if you do any kind of body work, like how amazing to be able to receive body work from somebody who doesn't judge their own body. Like that's honoring, because you know that they're not going to judge your body because they don't judge their body.
Right. Yeah. So go ahead and tell everybody where that we can find you. And I love your Instagram, by the way, because you and Kumar go back and forth all the time on there. And even like I said, when you were like not doing this work as much, you were still doing that at least. And like I said,
exactly.
Very inspiring. So if you can tell everybody where to find you and then how to get into the class.
Absolutely. So you can find me on all different social media outlets, whether you have Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. My website is drshellypersad.com, which we can post in the Facebook group. And on Facebook, it's Dr. Shelly P after the /. On Instagram, it's Orgasmical Medicine. The class, if you go to my website, and then a little light box will pop up that says, you know, learn more about the class, blah, 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 click here. But it's drshellypersad.com // whichever one it is, addicted.
Yeah. And then I think that, because on your website, and then it has some more information about you, and I think I posted the CBS News feature that they did on you a couple years ago, which is really cool. So I'm just so excited that you're doing the work again. So that's why I wanted to bring you to the group, and I'm very excited that, you know, to see what the future brings with that. So I would love to.
Exactly. I know what else is possible. What does everybody want? You know, if you want to hear a certain topic, if this isn't for you, then let either of us know and we'll talk about that topic.
Yeah. And like, let's see, let me check. Okay, so we don't have any questions, and let me make sure that I had all the questions on there. I think we hit everything that we were talking about. So we did. So if there was, and I will say, like I said, I'm hoping that the recording got everything.
I know,
so
let's hope.
Yeah, so because like I said, it's, you know, on both of our ends. So I'm hoping that it'll render or whatever, so that it just catches everything. If not, if there was like a specific point that, you know, you were talking about, people can just say like, hey, she was talking about this and it cut out.
Exactly.
And then you can answer that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I would love to have anybody come and play with us. I think this will be just magical, you know.
I know, the more the merrier. It's going to be fun. Yeah, the early bird registration ends today. I probably won't be online to change it until tomorrow morning. But if anybody wants to join, the early bird registration will be today. And it's only $197. So, you know, what I always look at is how much would a divorce cost? Or how much do dating websites cost? If you're single and you're going one website after another, guy after guy after, how much are you spending when you could embrace this energy and manifest people to you? And then you can pick and choose and see which one is right for you. And you'll learn, you know, what you like and dislike, so you can become pickier, so you don't settle for less, so you don't get into another wrong relationship, so to say.
The same one over and over.
Repeating the same pattern, expecting a different result because he looks different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love to have anybody join us. And then I will definitely, like I said, is post that the 13 types of orgasms in the group. Because that is quite saucy. I love it.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, I will post that today as well. So thank you so much for the interview.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, my dear.
It was wonderful as always.
I know. You definitely, as always. Now, next stop, Puerto Vallarta. Come on down.
Yes, for sure. Okay, Shelly.
All right.
I love you. I hope that you have a beautiful day.
Too. Thank you, dear.
And I will be talking to you soon.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye, honey.
Bye.